Hey guys, PumpOne Environmental here with you. Today we're going to show you guys on how to completely disassemble a pump after it comes out of the casing. On the service and cleaning video, we've gone over a couple things as far as just how to generally remove the pump from the casing, how to clean the pump, and then put the pump back in the casing. But today we're going to actually show you what to do if you have to go a step further. So we're actually going to start by removing the float and going to break this up into probably a two-part video where we remove the float, we completely disassemble the rocker mechanism, and then we'll go back together starting with reassembling the rocker mechanism. We'll show you how to set the valves, and then we'll show you how to reinstall the float. So we'll just start by removing the float, and it's just held together by a pin down on your actuator rod, and pin's got a little head on it. You can just take and snap it off. Now, let me see that for a second. If you have an older design pin, it would just be a regular pin. In that case, you would take a little punch, which we include in the toolkits, and you would just punch it out. But this is a newer design, makes it a little more user-friendly to remove it. So once he removes that, he removes a spring and this guides, and then the float will just slide right off. And this is an EP economy version pump that we're dealing with today. So once we've got this standing up, we're actually going to start just by removing the air inside of the rocker. And you'll notice how he chucked the pump up, the discharge tube of the pump. And notice we've talked in the last videos and some other videos about how important it is to have some rubber jaws whenever doing anything with the pumps, just keep from scarring them up or preventing any damage. Very important part right here, you can see that he's got 2 wrenches, and this is important because you want 1 wrench on the actual block of the valve assembly, and you can see that he had the wrench on the block, and then what he did is break that nut. Put those wrenches up there one more time if you don't mind, just so we can show them the importance of that. So you've got one wrench on the actual block, and then you've got another wrench on the lock nut. It's important to actually hold that block, because if you actually just try to remove the nut not holding the block, you take the chance on stripping the actual valve apart at the stem. So once that's loose, he can stick his nut driver down in the top of it and just kind of start backing the stem out of the block. Come up through the bottom of the head, but basically what you want to do is just remove that stem from the nut and make sure the nut's completely off of the stem, and obviously the stem is out of the block. So he's got his nut off. You see, it's a very, very small nut. And then he can just take some needle nose pliers and pull the actual air valve out, and this is what it is. I don't know if you can see it, if you can zoom in. But obviously it just feeds in through the top, and then the nut goes on and feeds in the block. But we can go over that as we're reassembling it. So the next step is just to remove the actual sides of the rocker. And these are just cap screws that hold these rocker sides together. You got 4, you got 2 on each side. And all the cap screws, they have lock nuts on high collar lock washers on the actual screws. So those are, obviously very small, just like all the other parts, so they can be easy to lose if you're not careful. So the rocker comes off. There's no need to actually take the block out of the rocker. If you do need to take that, it's just a little pin here, and the pin slides out, the block comes off, you replace a new block. But we're not going to go over that today, because that's pretty self-explanatory for the most part if that needs to be replaced. And you actually have a sleeve that slides over your spindle. Some of you may or may not have the sleeve, depending on what version of pump you have. Basically, this sleeve works great in a very clean environment, and we've found that, you know, it rotates freely. But what we found as we've got into some higher scaling sites, that actually some grit can actually get stuck. I don't know how well you can see this, but some grit can actually get stuck in between the spindle and the sleeve, causing it to bind up, so kind of causing more, you know, harm than good. But like I said, if you have a very clean environment when you're pumping and a very clean workshop, just in here, you know, great theory, great. But if you have any problems, if you notice that your pump's kind of hanging up, that could be the issue. If it is the case, let us know. We'll send you some regular spindles to fix that problem. So just wanted to show you, so you may or may not, depending on which version pump you have spindles on your rocker. So the next step, same concept on the other side, on the actuator rod. You're going to pull your sleeves off, your spring guide rollers here. You have 2 of them. O-rings go over each one. And then your actuator rod with your spring guide head. And again, we're not going to go over the details of breaking down this actuator rod. It's just pins here. If you need to replace any of these parts, you pop the pins off, you pull the parts off, you put the new ones on, you go back together with them. Simple stuff. All right, let's spin it around so they can actually see what we're doing there. I want to go over some detail. He does this every day, so he can pop this thing right out. But there is kind of a technique to it. Let's show him to kind of, it might be easier to lower that exhaust valve down so it's easier to pop out. So the first step obviously is going to be same concept. He's holding his valve there, whereas, you know, on the air inside, you have nothing to hold on your valve, so you got to hold the block. Here he's able to actually hold the poppet rather with a wrench, and then he can loosen his lock nut. All he's doing is just basically lowering his exhaust poppet down a little bit so it pops off easier, and it pops off his guides a little easier. So that's basically what there is to the rocker. Let's remove the magnets really quick, and just to kind of show them what that consists of. Let's spin it so they can actually see. And we'll just remove one magnet. Obviously you have 2, but they're both the same. So it starts by removing or loosening the set screw. You don't necessarily have to remove it. All you're doing is loosen it up a little bit, and then you're going to come in through the top and just spin the magnet down, and the magnet's going to come out of the bottom of the head, as you can see. And then it just comes right out. And that's really, you can remove this piece here, but there's really, if you would ever have to replace your check ball, you could remove that. You could also remove your eye bolts. But as far as just for a general service and a general replacing of parts, you really, wouldn't need to take it any further than that. But that's part 1. Tune in. We're going to go back together with this thing, starting with the magnet. We're going to show you how to set the exhaust poppet. We're going to show you how to set the air valve, and then we're going to show you how to put the float back on. So check out that video. Thanks.